It is my sad and unenviable duty to inform you of the tragic fallen amongst Israel's armed forces. The number of fallen soldiers in this war has unfortunately risen to 831. That's 831. Captain Eitan Israel Shiknazi was 24 years old and from Eli. Major Dvir Tzion Revach was 28 years old and from Jerusalem. First Sergeant Ido Samiach was 20 and from Gani Tikva. And funerals were held today for these young men. First Sergeant Kenu Kassa was 22 years old and from Bet Shemesh. First Sergeant Matidyahu Yaakov Perel was 22 years old and from Betel. And First Sergeant Nevo Fisher was aged just 20 and from Bruchin. All 7 of these brave soldiers fell in battle against the terrorists of Hamas and Islamic Jihad in northern Gaza. These are devastating losses to their families, to their friends and their communities. There are no words of mine that can assuage the terrible pain of their families. We embrace them, their dear families who have lost their precious heroes, sons and daughters in this war for our very existence. The price of this war is heavy and painful, and each casualty is a world unto itself. May their memories be a blessing forever. Next, the latest on our hostages. Just yesterday, you would have seen that our brave soldiers from the IDF retrieved the body of hostage Yusuf Ziadnev, the Israeli Bedouin Muslim who was abducted by Hamas terrorists on October 7th from an underground tunnel in Rafah. As part of the operation, findings relating to Yusuf's son, Hamza Ziadnev, were also retrieved, which raise serious concerns for his life. The Prime Minister spoke for the nation, expressing deep sorrow on this bitter news for the al-Ziadnev family and for the people of Israel. Israel worked and hoped for the safe return of all 4 members of the al-Ziadnev family held hostage by Hamas. Israel has returned the children, Bilal and Aisha, in November 2023. And so much wanted to bring back Yusuf and Hamza as well. All 4 worked in the dairy of Kibbutz Cholit. Now Israel is making every effort to return all of our hostages, the living and the deceased. So with this news, and I've seen there's already a question about the hostage numbers, let me share with you fully up to date on the latest intel about our hostages. On the 7th of October 2023, 251 people were stolen by Hamas. As of today, 99 remain in Hamas captivity in Gaza. Now, this is made up of 95 hostages from October the 7th and 4 hostages since 2014. Our latest assessment is that 36 hostages have been killed with their bodies in Hamas captivity. This includes the bodies of the late Hadar Goldin and the late Oron Shol from 2014. 34 hostages are considered dead from October the 7th. Now, from October the 7th, the remaining 95 people taken hostage by Hamas, 82 are men, 13 are women. There are also 2 children under the age of 5, the Bibas boys. 85 are Israelis, 10 are foreign nationals, 8 are from Thailand, 1's from Nepal and 1 from Tanzania. There are other nationalities and dual nationals as well. Of the 34 hostages who are no longer alive being held by Hamas, 1 is from Tanzania and 2 are from Thailand. And to give the complete picture, 156 hostages have been either released or rescued. Let me now reiterate Israel's position in these hostage negotiations. We remain unwavering in our determination to get them all home and to secure their release. Consistently, Israel has shown determination and readiness to finalize a deal, but Hamas keep walking away. As of today, the primary obstacle to closing a deal is Hamas, which continues to obstruct progress. The reality has been underscored, actually, by US Secretary of State Blinken in his interview with the New York Times at the weekend as to why Israel insists on being given a list on the condition of each of our hostages. I'll tell you why. 461 days on, we are dealing with a terrorist organization. We are focused on getting the living back first. We want the bodies back too, for a decent, respectful burial, but we want the living first. But also, we need a guarantee that they are alive now and that they will be kept alive until they are released. Because we know that they can be executed in an instant, as was the case when we were close to rescuing our people. They were executed Mafia-Style, jihadi-style, on their knees, with their hands tied behind their back. Hamas are a jihadi terror group, and they need to commit to giving us a list of who is alive and who is dead, as well as their condition. Now, we call on the international community to exert pressure on countries, specifically countries, that maintain a special relationship with Hamas. We urge these countries to urge Hamas to get our people out, to let our people go and conclude a deal. Next to Lebanon and the ceasefire in our north, let me make Israel's position clear here as well. Israel will continue to enforce the agreement and will respond with force to any violation. Indeed, just this morning, suspects were seen loading weapons into vehicles from inside a military site used by Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Our Air Force struck the weapons loaded onto the vehicle to remove the threat. So yes to the ceasefire understandings between Israel and Lebanon, but the IDF remains deployed in southern Lebanon to enforce it. We want the agreement to endure, but as our defense minister has stated, we are witnessing increased violations by Hezbollah, and for the agreement to endure, there must be no Hezbollah south of the Litani River, just the Lebanese army and UNIFIL. And finally, the latest on aid going into Gaza. Yesterday, in collaboration with the World Health Organization, almost 7,000 litres of fuel were transferred to hospitals in southern Gaza, like the Al-Nasser Hospital, Al-Aqsa Hospital, and the European Hospital to sustain their work. Supplies also went to the Indonesian hospital too, but also 10,000 litres of water, dozens of food crates, and nearly 300 boxes of medical supplies were transferred to hospitals in the northern and southern Gaza Strip, which were also coordinated by COGAT. Israel is extremely careful to act in accordance with international law to get humanitarian assistance for the residents of Gaza, with a special focus on medical support. As for the very latest on aid which has actually gone in over the last 24 hours, let me give you our latest figures. Yesterday, 10 patients and 10 givers were transferred to Jordan for medical treatment through the Karam Shalom crossing. 255 humanitarian aid trucks went in. 230 went through Karam Shalom crossing and 25 through the Erez crossing. 172 trucks were collected from the Gazan side of Karam Shalom by international organizations. But still, an almost daily reminder that 800 truck worths of aid are still awaiting collection, all of it belonging to the United Nations, still awaiting collection for distribution. 800 trucks. That should be the standard answer to anyone saying that there's not enough aid going into Gaza. These 800 trucks have been waiting there for months and months and months, awaiting distribution. Finally, let me just make this point that nothing demonstrates how much Hamas actually hate Gazans as much as what happened yesterday. Hamas, again, fired rockets at Karam Shalom, the main humanitarian aid crossing into Gaza. Hamas bombs the aid crossing in order to prevent aid from reaching Gazans. Israel, on the other hand, gets it in despite. So as we've said many times, Israel are liberating Gaza from Hamas. That's the end of our briefing today. Please put your questions in the chat together with your news outlet. Briefing a little bit longer today to give you the full picture of the hostage situation with our latest figures. Okay, first question here is from Joel Pollack at Breitbart News. Israel has experience in rebuilding from terrible events. What lessons can Israel and the Israeli people offer to those of us in Los Angeles who are learning that our entire communities have been destroyed? Thank you very much for that question, Joel. I think everyone here in Israel, from our president to our prime minister to everyone in the government and all of our people here, have been remarkably moved and shaken by the shocking scenes of these wildfires which have taken control in Los Angeles. We send, of course, our best wishes in terms of learning about the resilience. What lessons can Israel share with our friends in the US about this resilience and rebuilding? You know, it was Plato which first came up with the phrase that necessity is the mother of invention. That is the guiding phrase which pushes forward this country, despite the many problems which this country has faced, living in a difficult neighborhood, very limited water supplies. So much of this country is desert, surrounded by countries for whom democracy is a distant dream, and if not actual enemies of this country. We have a determination to push forward here. We have a determination to push forward, and I'm sure that the close relationship between Israel and the US, there are no two closer countries in terms of our shared values than between the US and Israel. I'm sure that the lessons of keep pushing forward, and with God's grace, you will get through this difficult time to see brighter days in the future. All of us send our best to the people of Los Angeles who are suffering from these awful fires. We send you our best wishes. If there are, and no doubt I'm not aware, but I'm sure there are parts of the Israeli government who have offered support to the US on dealing with these issues. Next question is from David Clement from the News Forum. With the recovery of the bodies of 2 hostages, does the Israeli government have an estimate on how many of the remaining hostages are alive? Thank you for that question, David. Seeing your question, I put especially into our briefing our latest figures when it comes to the number of hostages who we believe to be alive and confirmed having been killed by Hamas. I gave you those figures earlier in the briefing, and I will send them to you as well so you have them. Needless to say, Israel is determined to bring all of them home. They need to be set free now. Next question here is from Fred Ager. You are asking about that whether the Prime Minister will be attending this year's Holocaust Remembrance Day in Auschwitz-Birkenau on January 27th, a day remembering the liberation of the camp. Will President Herzl and a delegation attend, or will Israel won't attend at all? Thank you for that question, Fred. That's a fair way in advance. 27th of January, as you know, our Prime Minister is focused on getting our hostages home, on fighting this war till complete success, and we'll let you know about the movements of the Prime Minister and other officials closer to the time, if we may. Next question is from Hannah Julian from the Jewish Press. Can you tell us how many Americans are still being held by Hamas and whether any of them are among those determined to be deceased? Thank you for that question, Hannah. If I may, I'll come back to you on giving you the precise number of American citizens. I want to give you the correct figure, so I'll ask our team here to give those precise figures to you of US citizens. And finally, question I can see here from Aryeh O'Sullivan from Khan, Israel's English radio. What is Israel's reaction to the election of a president in Lebanon? Thank you for that question, Aryeh. We are not sharing any comment right now. This is obviously a matter for the Lebanese people and the Lebanese government. We, of course, want peace and stability for the future of Lebanon. A Lebanon free of Iranian control would be the best for the Lebanese people, but I haven't got anything particular to share with you on the Israeli government's response to the situation which you ask about. Next question here is from Svetlana Nistraov from TPS IL news agency. Given the recent reports of hospitals in Gaza being used as safe havens for terrorists, including the arrest of 240 individuals linked to Hamas and Islamic Jihad at Kamal Adwan Hospital, why does Israel continue to facilitate humanitarian aid to hospitals in Gaza? How does the government ensure that such aid is not exploited by terrorist organizations for their activities? Thank you very much for that question, Sveta. You're right, of course. Hamas have used hospitals for terror activities, including, as you say, at the Kamal Adwan Hospital. And this is a clear violation of international humanitarian law, a clear violation. Now, during the recent IDF operation targeting the Hamas command and control center within the hospital, you're right, we did arrest 240 terrorists. 15 of them actually participated in the October 7th massacre. So the Hamas cynical use of civilian and medical infrastructure endangers innocent lives. So you're right that Hamas are using hospitals. It's against international law. But we have a duty, and it's one of our values to continue to provide aid to Gazans people, not to the terrorists, but to Gazans people. And we're doing that as carefully as we possibly can. If you remember, if you think back to the start of this war, President Biden said that the aid would stop if aid fell into Hamas's hands. We know that Hamas steals so much of this aid and they sell it at exorbitant prices back to Gazan civilians, which means it's all the more important that Hamas are eradicated and can no longer be in military control or have any governing role in the future of Gaza. We are freeing Gaza from Hamas. Next question is from Fred Ager. Pope Francis recently renewed condemnation of the IDF's campaign in Gaza, describing the humanitarian situation as very serious and shameful, citing children freezing due to attacks on hospitals by the IDF and the energy network severely damaged. What is the Prime Minister's office response to the Pope's latest statement? Thank you very much for that question, Fred. Let me answer you in this way. This was a war which was designed by Hamas. Hamas hate Gazans. Hamas have said very openly that they are prepared to fight to the last Gazan. So every single Gazan death, civilian in particular, is the sole responsibility of Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization that designed this war to maximize civilian casualties. If there is, putting the Pope to one side, if there are people that have criticism of the number of people that have died in Gaza, it is Hamas which is responsible for this war. It is Hamas that designed this war. They put their command and control centers underneath hospitals. They held our hostages in cells beneath hospitals. They designed this war to maximize civilian casualties. Ultimately, the responsibility of this war is Hamas and the terrorist organizations which exist in Gaza. So, our message to anyone that makes these sorts of criticism is that the best way forward now is for Israel to have success in liberating Gaza from Hamas to provide a better future for Gazans people. Okay, that was the last question I can see here. Thank you for joining us here today. We're available for interview or for other questions. In the meantime, please do stay safe, and we'll catch you at the next briefing. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Ziadnev signing off.